All right, welcome everyone. Thank you all for rearranging the time so that I could go to the Chasana. We welcome in Berish Gesseman, Dr. Block, Irving Fishbaum, Mel Zachter, Ruven Pollack. Ruven, I made sure you got it through snail mail, and Saba, and Stephen Holtzman, Mo Kushner, Nachman Chapler, Dr. Guy, Eddie Chazan, Marshall Castle, Menachem Yamansky, Shimon Klein, Ilya Shutman, Naftali Jablin, Aaron Swade, Avram Schenkman, Pesach Sigelman, Abe Arbach, Yitzi Muller, Dr. Ruvain Guy, David Helfgott on Kol Haloshin, and we're going to get soon my phone. My phone is being brought to me. Rich Leonard is here in the shul, and Michal just joined us. We are dedicated by A.B. Spry for the safety of the soldiers, and also the recovery of the hostages should go up without a hitch. We should get as many as we can back. Thank you very much. And thank you. And for Isuzev Ben Yuta, we, okay, and we, plug in the last piece of equipment.
Where's the legatus?
Apologies.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. And we are sponsored by Shimon Klein, Lila Nishmas Asher Anshel Ben Yehuda, Gittel by Shimon Pinchas, and by Irving Fishbaum for his continued health, Issa Ben Rezel. We also learn with a mazel tov to my Shver and Schwiger, Avir Vigdor Aye, and Hinda Danziger on the marriage of their daughter tonight to the Tesla Mishpacha. And we learn for Victor Aya ben Rivka, you should have continued good health. And for Hayelad ben Chava, our Anikel is having a very important oxygen test. They could let him go home if he's 48 hours successfully without oxygen. I think he just hit 36 hours, so let's hope Hayelad ben Chava and L'Refu Shalema for Meir ben Chaya Sarah, as we welcome in Shelley Zeitlin, who must, have some kind of a connection that he knows exactly when to come. We are holding here on Daf Yud Chesed Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. Tajma, the Tani Rami by Yecheskel. Tarnagol shahoishit roishay la'avir klei zechuchas. A chicken that stuck its head into Marshall's vase, right? Into Marshall's vase, v'tokabai, and blew, v'shivrai, and broke it, mishalim nezik shalom. He pays nezik shalom. Now, why? We said where it flutters its wings and the air comes out, it's srairis. So why is it a nezik shalom? And Rabbi Yosef Imre Bei Rav, they said in the Academy of Rav, Sus Shetzonaf, a horse that neighs, v'chamor shenar, or a donkey that screeches, v'shibur es hakelim mishalim chatzi nezek. Now that makes sense, because it's kaichai, that's srairis, and it's a chatzi nezek, but in the Reish it says it's a nezek shalom. So the Gemara wants to suggest it's talking about where this happened 3 times. And the question is there a mu'id for tzroris? My love, going to other tlasazim, it was done 3 times. You could become a mu'id by tzroris, and that's why it pays a nezik shalom when he sticks his beak into Marshall's vase. And Mar Savar Einada says, it's the first time. And the Man Yaman that says that the chicken that sticks its head into Marshall's vase and blows is a nezik shalom, that's going according to Sumchas. Or beplukta the Sumchas Rabbanan Kamifli. Says, what are you talking about? Is this normal behavior? I know it's Marshall's, but It's Marshall's vase. I mean, is it normal behavior for a chicken to stick itself into the vase and blow? So it says the Gemara, V'mashunahu, says the Gemara in the Ispe Bizrani, no, there were seeds in the vase. So the seeds in the vase, it was normal for the chicken to go after the seeds. And once it goes after the seeds and it's inside, it's normal for it to make its cock-a-doodle-doo, like Marshall knows how to do. Now, right, very good. You're better than the actual chicken. And you are Mishana also. Now, Boy Ravashi, new Shaila. Yesh shinoi litzrairis l'ravia nezek. If, let's say it was abnormal for it to blow, and it blows, will then there be a quarter damage? Says the Gemara, Yesh shinu l'tzrairis l'ravia nezek, or yein shinu l'tzrairis l'ravia nezek. So that if let's say the chicken sticks, there's no seeds, and the chicken sticks its head in and makes its noises, that's unusual. So do we say that if it would be normal, it would be a chatzi nezek? Now that it's abnormal, it's a ravia nezek. It's a quarter of a nezek. So tifshet leid midrava. The Gemara says, let's resolve it from a din of Rav. The boy Rava declares, yesh hadol litzrairis or ein hadol litzrairis. Is there hadah for tzrairis or not? And his shaila is, if it's done 3 times, is it going to be a nezek shalom? Michlal the ein shinoi. So that implies, since he's clearing whether there's going to be a nezek shalom, and we assume that that's talking about all cases of tzrairis, and he says, is it a nezek shalom if it's done 3 times? That means that if it's done 1 time, it's not a quarter. Michlal, says the Gemara, the ein shinoi. So the Gemara says, no. Dilma Rava im tim tzalaimer kaimer. Im tim tzalaimer ein shinoi. If there's no din of a quarter and it's always a half, yesh hadah yen hadah. Then if you do it 3 times, will there be a nezek shalom? So the Gemara says, teku. On this we don't have a resolution. We don't know if there is tzrairis of a ravia nezek. Now, this we spoke about once. What happens if the chicken steps on a pebble, it breaks a window, and a shard from that window breaks a second window? According to Sumchus, who says the first window is nezek shalom, what's the din with the second window? Is that, what does Simchus hold? Does he hold that the halach l'meish misinai have tzrairis? There is a halach l'meish misinai of a chatzi nezek, but it applies to this koyach koychay. So the Gemara declares, as we welcome in Yitzi Padower, it's really great to have you for our 27th Zoomer of this late evening. Sandy Grunfeld is joining us. It's good to have him as well. So, Boy Ravashi, koyach koychay l'sumchus, is it koychay dami? And it pays a nezek shalom, just like Sumchus says the first window is a nezek shalom. I like. Mi gomer halacha, maybe Sumchus holds of the halacha l'meish misina of chatzi nezek, but he holds it applies to koyach koychay. Mi gomer halacha mukila b'koyach koychay. I don't like gomer halacha klal, and he holds that the din of koyach koychay is also nezek shalom. So the Gemara says, teku, tishbi atayv's kosher zibayis. Now the Mishnah then goes on to say 2 different kinds of cases. If the animal kick, now remember, kick is keren, and therefore tam pays a chatzi nezek. Or pebbles shoot out from under its feet. Now that's normal, but it's chatzi nezek because it's tzrairis. Now, Ibaylo, Hey Chikamer, how do you read this? Hoisa miva'etes, it was kicking, v'hezika bibiyuta, and it damaged with its kicking, and therefore it pays a chatzi nezek because it's mishuna and it pays a chatzi nezek. Oitzroiris kurchayu, or normal pebbles shooting out from under its feet, and mishalim chatzi nezek, and that's also a chatzi nezek. V'rabbanani, and it's going according to the Rabbanan who hold that tzroiris is a chatzi nezek. Dilma, or perhaps we're going to read it differently. This is a very big chiddush. Dilma, ha'isem of etes, it was kicking, ve'zika bebiyuta, and it damaged with its kicking. That's a chatzi nezek. Tzroiris machmas biyut, or it had pebbles through kicking. So it pebbles through kicking, so that's koichai of Keren. And Mishalim Chatzi Nezek, there it pays a Chatzi Nezek. Hoki Urche, but if it would have been normal, Mishalim Nezek Shalom. And therefore, what's Pshat? If it would be normal, the pebbles would shoot out from under its feet. That's a nezek shalom, because Sumchas holds tzroiris is a nezek shalom. But since it was pebbles through kicking, which is mishuna, that's why it's chatzi nezek. Omani Sumchasi. Well, the Gemara says Tashmam is Seifa. The Seifa doesn't seem to be able to be like Sumchas, because Tashma, look what it says in the Seifa. Dors ala keli, if the animal steps on a plate, v'shibartoi, and breaks it, v'nofel hashever al keli achar, and the piece of plate shot out and broke a window, v'shibrai, so al arishin, for the plate, since that's regular regel, mishalim nezek shalom. And on the window it's chatzi nezek. Now obviously that's not sumchas, because on sumchas you would pay on the window a nezek shalom also, because the old tzroiris is nezek shalom. The sumchas mi yislei chatzi nezek. Says the Gemara, well maybe what happened over here was he stepped on a plate. The plate broke a window. That's the rishon. And a piece of the window broke another window. And the reason why the second window is a chatzi nezek is because Simchas holds koyach koychai is a chatzi nezek. The chitem a rishon la'ataza. When it says a rishon is a nezek shalom, that means the piece of plate broke the first window. That's a nezek shalom. And then a piece of that window broke a second window. V'sheni la'ataza. And it proves that Sumchas holds that there's a chatzi nezek koychai. V'shani like Sumchas ben koychai l'koychai koychai. Says that can't be, because Elohad the boy of Ashi koychai l'Sumchas koychai dami olav koychai dami, where he says what's the din with koychai? Why didn't he resolve it from this Mishnah? Tifshit lay the lav koychai dami, that on the second window you pay a chatzi nezek. Says the Gemara, well, Rav Ashi will explain the Mishnah K'Rabbana Mukila. Rav Ashi will explain the Mishnah going according to Rabbanan, and the question about how to render the Mishnah is as follows: Uboy lahachi, hoisim of etes, it was kicking, vezika bibiyuta, and that's a chatzi nezek. Oitzroiris k'urchayu, or pebbles in the normal way, which is also a chatzi nezek. Ha machmas biyut, but if it would kick the pebble, and the pebble would break a window, then there would be a revia nezek. Revia nezek, and that would show v'yesh shinui, and there is a din of shinui by tzroiris. So since if it would be normal, it would be a chatzi nezek. So if the pebble shot out from a kick, which is unusual, it's a quarter of a nezek, and then there would be shinui l'tzroiris. Oidilma, or pshat in the Mishnah is hoisem of etes v'zika b'biyuta. It was kicking and it damaged with its kicking. Oitzroiris machmas biyut, or pebbles through a kick, and even though it's pebbles through a kick, it's still a chatzi nezek. And there is no shini by tzrayis. And we don't say that when he kicks and pebble shoots out, since it would be normal to be a chatzi nezek, so when it's abnormal, it's a revia nezek. So we don't know how to render the Mishnah, and therefore teku tishbi yataritz kushis v'bois. Now, I'm saying share, please. Says the Gemara, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol niya b'dvaro. Okay, holding by the two dots, two lines, into the wide lines on your test, as we welcome in Dr. Elliot Udell. Dr. Udell, don't forget, you could come on Zoom for the same cost. It doesn't cost anything. There's no entrance fee. There's no easy pass in front of the door. There isn't an easy pass in front of the door of the shul either.
I need my bourbon pass.
Yeah. Well, listen, I told the guy at the front gate that even shady characters he should let in.
I got the hint.
Anyway, but you're not shady. You're not wearing your shades.
I'm into the shading business.
Yeah. Okay. So boy mine Rav Abba bar Mamel mi Reb Ami. Rav Abba bar Mamel inquires of Reb Ami. The Imrela and others say mi Reb Chia bar Abba. He inquired of Reb Chia bar Abba. Hoise b'mahaleches b'mokam she'i efshela. The animal was walking in a place where it wouldn't be possible for it to walk without pebbles shooting out from under its feet. That's the situation. It was a cramped place, and therefore it was full of gravel. So there's no way that the animal could have walked there without having pebbles shooting out. But it kicked. Now, Kavan the EF Shalah, since it wouldn't have been possible for it to go there without having pebbles shooting out, Urchayu. So that's normal tzrayis, and it's a chatzi nezek. Oy dilma hashtamiyas machmas biat kamanatza tzrayis, or perhaps now it came out through kicking, and this would only be a question if we hold yesh shinu l'tzrayis. But if we would hold yesh shinu l'tzrayis, the fact is that this was unusual because the animal kicked, and maybe then it only pays a quarter. Or do we say, well, what's the difference? Anyway, the animal would have caused it because it was impossible to walk there without kicking up pebbles, and maybe it should pay half. Teku Tishbi Yatar Kushas V'Bais Reb Kraus. Welcome, as we were holding by Bo Minei, and that is 6 lines from the beginning of the wide lines on Daf Yutes Amud Aleph. 6 lines from the beginning of the wide lines on Daf Yutes Amud Aleph. Nathan Langner is joining us. Welcome. Boy Minei Reb Yomi and Reb Zeri. You see, if I wouldn't have asked you to get the phone, which you would have already lost 3 people on here. Boy Minei Reb Yomi and Reb Zeri. Hoysem aleches b'rishus harabim. Here we have Marshall's animal is strolling in the Rishus Harabim. Now remember, you're not chayiv for regel in the Rishus Harabim. Shein and regel is not chayiv in the Rishus Harabim. So Marshall's animal is strolling in the Rishus Harabim. V'tiza v'hizika, and pebbles shot out and did damage. Now remember, it's a chatzi nezek. So, what's the din? Do we say lekeren midamin alei? Do we say we compare it to keren because it's a chatzi nezek, so it's like keren, v'chayeves? Oy dilma toid l'regel. Since it's urchei, it's a told of the regel, and therefore a ptura. It's patur in Rishus Harabim. So the Gemara says, that's an easy one. Amalei Mistaver told the regular. But now the plot thickens. What if martial animal is walking in the Rishus Harabim, a pebble shoots out from under his foot and breaks Dr. Block's window on his property? So Marshall's animal is in the Rishus Harabim, the rock shoots out and breaks a window in the Rishus Yachid. Hitiza b'Rishus Harabim, v'zika b'Rishus Yachid mount. Amalei, the bottom line is, Marshall, who is apoplectic, says, I have the right to be in the Rishus Harabim. Why should I pay? Amalei Akira Einkan, there's no liability for where it started. Hanocha Yeshkan, you want to make him responsible for where the pebble ended up, where it landed? Marshall says, I'm walking like a free bird. It's a free country. I'm on 13th Avenue. I'm on Main Street. I'm on Central Avenue. I'm on Route 9. Right? I'm on Rechov Diesendorf. Come on. Says the Gemara, well, Eisvei, Hoysem Aleches B'derech, if it was walking on the road, V'tiza, and pebbles shot out, Bein Rishus Yachid, Bein Rishus Harabim Chayv. Now that can't be taken as literal. Because if it shot out in the Rishus Harabim and broke something in the Rishus Harabim, Marshall wouldn't be chayv. So my lav, atiza b'Rishus Harabim, v'zika b'Rishus Harabim, do we want to say, unlike we said before, that because it's similar to Karen and that it's a chatzi nezek, he's chayv even if it does damage in the Rishus Harabim? Loi. Atiza b'Rishus Harabim, v'zika b'Rishus Yachid. That it was shot out from under his hoof in the Rishus Harabim and did damage on Dr. Black's property. We said that if Marshall is not responsible for where it was uprooted, why should he be responsible for where it landed? Amalei Hadribi. He said, you know what? That's where I retract. Because the bottom line is the pasuk says, Ubier b'stei acher. That the critical thing is if the consumption was in someone else's field. And since the damage was in Dr. Black's property on his window, Marshall is going to be chayiv, which we all knew was going to be. Now, Eisvei. It's like a dreidel that has a shin on all four sides. Yeah, Eddie, it does. You have to know how to play with the deck stacked. The Eisvei.
I don't like coming to this year.
Eisvei. Marshall, don't talk out of turn. Eisvei. I'm wearing my Shabbos sticker kapata. Don't start up with me now.
Uh-oh.
I just got word that there's going to be a mitzvah dance by this thing. So they're going to expect me to come back at 12:30 in the night. Anyway, Eisvei. I didn't know whether I would have to go back or not, at what time. So I already recorded the Mishnah Yomis. The Mishnah Yomis is already on YouTube and Kalalashin and TorahAnytime.com. Eisvei. Dorsa ala keli. So the animal stepped on the plate, vishibartai, broke the plate, v'nofal al shever al keli acher, and the fragment fell onto a window, v'shibro, and broke the window. So al arishim mishalom nezek shalom. The first plate he pays a nezek shalom because the first plate is regular regel. V'al ha'achron on the window mishalom chatzi nezek. V'tani Allah. And we learned that if this took place on Dr. Block's property. So for the plate that he steps on, that's regular, pays a nezek shalom. For the fragment that shoots out and breaks the window, he pays the chatzi nezek because that's tzroirus. Avol, Rishus Harabim, in Rishus Harabim, al Rishon P'tura, on the plate he's pater, because breaking a plate, regal in the Rishus Harabim is not chayiv. Vala achron chayeves, but for the window he's chayiv. Now at first the Gemara says, "My love it is Rishus Harabim v'zika Rishus Harabim," that the window is in the Rishus Harabim and he's still chayiv because chatzi nezek is similar to Karen, because it's also a chatzi nezek, and unlike what we said, you're chayiv for that even in the Rishus Harabim. It says no loy. It is a Rishus Harabim. It's talking about we broke the first plate in the Rishus Harabim, but the fragment shot out and broke Dr. Block's window on his property. But we said that shouldn't we go after we were uprooted in the Rishus Harabim? If there's no responsibility for the uprooting, why should you be responsible for where it landed? Like we said, that he retracted. As long as the damage, since it says beer b'steacher, consumption in the other field, as long as the damage is in the other field, you're going to be chai. Gemara says, "Ini, is that so?" As we already turn 25 minutes, we're already turning the page. Great. Ini, v'amar Rabbi Yochanan, ein chatzi nezek cholok, loy l'rishus ha'yachid v'loy l'rishus harabim. That by chatzi nezek there's no difference between the rishus ha'yachid and rishus harabim. That sounds like we're saying that by tzroirus you're chayiv even in the rishus harabim. My love it is rishus harabim v'zika rishus harabim. And we're saying that for tzroirus, even though it's normal, you're chayiv in the rishus harabim because it's a chatzi nezek similar to the chatzi nezek of Karen, that you're chayiv in the rishus harabim. It says no loy, no. Hetiza b'rishus harabim v'zika b'rishus ha'yachid. That's what it means. It means that if it's ended up in the rishus ha'yachid, even if it started in the rishus harabim, you're going to be chayiv. Says Gemara, but we said a svara that if there's no akira, why should you be chayiv on anocha? V'amar akira ain't kan anocha yesh kan amalei hadribi. That's one answer. The other answer is that it's talking about the chatzi nezek of Keren. When something is meshuna, there's talking no difference between Rishus Harabim and Rishus Yachid, because for Keren, you're chayiv even in Rishus Harabim. And that's what Gemara says, Iba Yisayim Kiyam Rabbi Yochanan Keren. He's talking about unusual damage. Unusual damage, the first time, there's no difference between Rishus Harabim and Rishus Yachid. You're chayiv in the Rishus Harabim as well. Now, by the way, we're gonna talk about this. If Marshall puts his pajamas on Main Street, and then a shark comes and tramples it, it's not so simple that the owner of the shar is chayiv. Because there's a rule that if one person deviates and another person deviates, you're not chayiv. So we're going to talk about that. That's going to be a controversy at the end of tonight's Gemara. That's a very interesting question, right? So Marshall leaves his snowblower lying in the middle of the gutter, and somebody hits it. Marshall says, that thing's $2,000. I was hoping for a lot of snow this winter. Right? But the guy says, why do you leave it in the street? So we're going to talk about that in the next Gemara coming up. We'll see. Yosef Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya. Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya was sitting as we welcome in Moshe Lehman, joining us for our 28th Zoomer of the evening. I really feel good that although I had a family simcha tonight, I was still able to I'll be honest with you. Why didn't I tell you last night? Because the last two times, I told my brother-in-laws I don't need the honor. They could give it to somebody else. Usually, that makes it easier. But this morning, early in the morning, he called and he said he wants me to read the Ksuva. So that's why I had to do it the last minute. So thank you all for working it out. Anyway, Yosef Reb Yehuda Nasiya v'Reb Oishia Akila de Reb Yehuda. Reb Yehuda Nasiya, that's Reb Yehuda Nasi, and Reb Oishia was sitting on the porch of Reb Yehuda. Now, by the way, the reason why the Gemara gives us this background information is because it shows how accurate the Messiah is. They even remember where it took place. It shows the accuracy of the memory. So they were sitting on the porch of Reb Yehuda, and Nafik Milsa Mibeinai, and the following discussion emanated from the two of them. Kiskesa biznova ma'u. If the animal wags its tail in the Rishus Harabim and damages property, what's the din? Amalei idach. Now remember, normal behavior in the Rishus Harabim you're not chayav for. The Gemara assumes that wagging the tail is normal. So if it's normal, so the Gemara says, so why should it be chayav? Does Marshall have to hold the tail while he's walking with the animal? You have to watch out for the tail. That's the tailpipe. Says the Gemara. Yochi Karen Nami Nema. Why don't we say when the animal damages with the horn, is he expected to hold the horn? So the Gemara says that's not a good comparison. For it to damage with its horn, it's not usual behavior. This is usual. So the Gemara says, well, if it's usual, then what was the question? We know you're potter for regal in the Rishus Harabim. Marshall's animal was wagging its tail faster than usual. It was on high speed. And maybe high speed is not usual, and then it would be Karen, and then you would be Chayiv Chatzinezer. Kiskas Yisayrim Abayile. It was wagging a little bit too much. A real castle, a little bit too much.
It's a happy axe. What do I want?
Yeah, but you know what I say? T-O-O is always no good. Anything two is no good. That's why it says, Toiv is Yetzer Toiv, Ma'oid zu Yetzer Hara. So what's pshat? The Yetzer Hara is very good? No. Rabbi Twisky says, anything that you want to do too much, be suspicious that the Yetzer Hara is involved. Because it's not the modus operandi of the Yetzer Toiv to push us to do something. That doesn't happen. If there's a hockey game, so then the Yetzer Hara says, you can't miss this. Right? The Yetzer Hara doesn't say, you can't miss Rabbi Weisship. I can't. So watch me. The Yetzer Hara doesn't do. He says, and I remember, Irving will remember this. There were a lot of shul meetings where we couldn't get a quorum. But if there's a sniff of controversy, the room is full before the time of the meeting. Because that's the Yetzer Hara. Yetzer Hara brings people. The Yetzer Toiv doesn't push people. That's just not the way the Yetzer Toiv operates. If the Yetzer Toiv pushed people, I would have to get a screen that accommodates 1,000 people. It's not the Yetzer Toiv's way of doing things. Anyway, Boirav Eina. Now, this is a really interesting question. Kiskasa ba'amsamahu. What happened if it's male organ, and the male organ on an animal is pretty big? The male organ wagged and broke something in the Rishus Harabah. Now, the male organ only wags when it sees a female. when it gets excited. So the Gemara says, Mi amrinin midei dehavia keren. Maybe it's like goring. Why? Because keren lav yitzur katakifle, it gores when it gets inflamed. It doesn't gore normally. It doesn't start up normally. If it gets inflamed, if it gets hot under the collar, it gores. Hachanami loishna. Here also it's the same. Oy dilma keren kavanas lahazik. You can't compare it to keren because there it has intent to do damage. Ha'ain kavanas lahazik. So it's very interesting. The Gemara says it's similar to keren in one way, but not in another way. It's similar to keren that it only does it when it's in heat. It also gores only when it's in heat, a different kind of heat. On the other hand, keren has intent to damage. Here there was no intent to damage, so the Gemara says, take it, we're going to leave this one up to Mashiach. Now, Hatanagaylan mu'adim la'aloich kedarkan u'l'shaber. Chickens are a mu'ad to go in their normal way and to break things. Now, then it says a case. If there was a delil tied to the, if there was a delil, which Rashi says a delil is anything that you tie, like a ribbon or a strap, that you tie to the chicken. So if Marshall tied a shoelace to the chicken and it damages, so let's just see the lashon of the Mishnah. Haya delil kosher baraglov mishalem michatzi nezik. So the Gemara says, what's this case that how does it do damage? Now in the Mishnah we learned, like Rashi explained it, like the Maskana the Gemara, that the shoelace flew off and broke a window. And that's just the din of tzrayos. But at this point, the Gemara doesn't learn that way. The Gemara is thinking that the ribbon or the lace came off the chicken and somebody slipped on it. It's a kind of a bar. So let's see what's going on over here. It's only if it got onto the chicken by itself. Avol kashru adam, but if a person tied it on, then chayiv. Then you would be chayiv a full damages. So the Gemara says, what's going on over here? Niksher me'elav man chayiv. If it was tied by itself, who would be chayiv? Ilema balad lil. If there was a lace lying around on the street and the chicken got it on and then somebody tripped on that lace, hey chidami. If it was Mel's lace, why should Mel be chayiv? Ida atzne, if Mel put it away, he didn't leave it around, anasu. The loyatzne, and if he didn't put it away, then poisheyahu. And why should he be chayiv a chatzi nezek? He should be chayiv a nezek shalom. not chatzi nezek. Rather, elachayev bal tarnago. The marshal, the owner of the chicken, is chayev. So the Gemara says, "Maishna kulei nezik deloy." Why is he not chayev a full? Because you're not chayev for a bar that your animal digs. Dichsev ki yiftach ish bar. Only if marshal makes the bar. V'loy shar bar. Not if his chicken does it. Chatzi nezik nami ish bar v'loy shar bar. Ella says the Gemara, "Masnisen bet ad yaduye." The Mishnah is talking like we learned the simple way that marshals had a ribbon tied to the chicken, and the chicken hurled the ribbon, and it broke a window, and it's a chatzi nezek because it's tzvaris. V'chiyet mad Rav Huna, and when Rav Huna made this distinction of whether it was tied by itself or not, ba'alma itmar. It was an independent teaching. Let's see the independent teaching. Glil hefker. If there was a lace that was ownerless, Amar Rav Huna niksha me'elav. If the lace got onto the chicken by itself, then potter. Then marshal's potter. Because even though somebody tripped over the lace, but he's only chayiv when he makes a bar, not when his animal makes a bar. Kashru adam. But if marshal took it and tied it to the leg, and then somebody tripped over it, as the chicken was walking, somebody tripped over the lace, then chayiv. And you know why it's chayiv? Now, it's not exactly bar. Because remember, bar is not mobile. This is mobile. It's walking with the chicken. But my chayiv, Rav Huna bar Menayach mishum bara miskalgal b'raglei adam u'b'raglei behema. We said if you put a banana peel in the Rishus Harabim and it's moved by an animal or by a human, and then somebody slips, you're chayiv because it was your bar, and it's a bar that was transported, and you're chayiv for that. Now, the next Mishnah starts the discussion of the damage of shein. Keitzar hashein muedes. When does shein, where it eats for its benefit, when is shein amued to pay an nezek shalom? Lechol es haroila, to eat the normal food. So, if a deer usually eats vegetables, it's a chayiv nezek shalom on vegetables. Abehema muedes lechol peiros v'yarakas. An animal is a mued to eat fruit and vegetables. If you remember, we said the shein in the beginning of the Mishnah is to tell us not only an animal but also a chayiv. What about ochlok sus oikelim? What about if Marshall's animal eats Shelley's pajamas or Shelley's laptop?
Was Shelley in the pajamas at the time?
So then, Mishalem, no, then we execute you. Then you ask questions, you get an answer. But we can't execute you. We need you for these cases. Anyway, so leave Shelley alone.
He needs pajamas. I think we'll leave those alone too.
Yeah, Shelley shows us he's still here. Okay.
Looks like he's in his pajamas.
Yeah, I know. So the Mishnah says, "Ochlok susoy kalim." If Marshall's animal eats the pajamas or the computer of Shelley, that's mishuna. That's not normal. So then that's Karen and pays chatzi nezek. Tam pays chatzi misham chatzi nezek. This is all if it's on Shelley's property. Aval b'rishus harabim, but if it eats fruit in the Rishus Harabim, potter, because we said Shein is potter in the Rishus Harabim. However, even if Marshall's animal eats Shelley's food in the Rishus Harabim, if that means that Marshall doesn't have to give the animal lunch, so then he pays him for lunch. V'imnenis, if the animal benefited, that now Marshall doesn't have to pay, to feed it, Mishalemis Mashanemis. He has to pay Shelley, reimburse him for the benefit that he got. Ketzad Mishalemis Mashanemis. Where do you only pay limited liability, only for saving lunch? If it happened in the city square, in the Rishus Harabim, Mishalemis Mashanemis. Mitzide Arachava, which we call a simta, a side street, that belongs to the first person that was there, so therefore it became Shelley's property, then Mishalemis Masha Ezika. Mipesach HaChanais, from in front of the door of the store, that's Rishus Harabim, Mishalemis only Masha Nenis. He only pays to reimburse what his animal benefited, saved lunch. But inside the store, that's private property, then Mishalemis Masha Ezika, that's Rishus HaNizik, and you have to pay for all that he ate. Tan Rabbanan. Hashein muedes lechel esaroila. A shein is a mu'ed to eat what's fit for it. Ketzad. If Marshall's animal enters Shelley's property, and it ate food that is normal food for it. And drank beverages that's its normal fare. Also a beast that goes into the chatzah nizik, and tears an animal and eats it, which is which is normal. Now we're going to learn a bigger chiddush. If an animal eats food that it would normally not eat, but if when it's hungry it eats it, that's considered still shein, it's still regular. So therefore, a cow that eats barley, now that's not its normal fare. V'chamar she'achal kashinim, and the donkey that eats vetch. V'kelev shelikek es hashemen, a dog that laps up oil. V'chazir she'achal chaticha shel basar, and a swine that eats a slab of meat. Even though that's not its normal food, but it'll eat it b'shas adchak, you have to pay full damages. Mishal menezik shom. Amra Papa, hashda the amrit. Now that you've arrived at this idea that kol midei delav urche, something that's not its usual menu, but v'achal le al yedei adchak, but it will eat it if it's hungry and it doesn't have anything else, shmei akila, hai shunra da'achal tamre, a cat that eats dates, v'chamra da'achal binisa, and a donkey that eats fish, although it usually doesn't eat these things, mishalem nezik shalom. Now, haru chamra, a donkey da'achal nama, that ate bread, now the bread was in a basket. He ate bread, upalsei l'sal, and chewed up the basket. So the Gemara says, so on the bread it's a nezik shalom. The basket, it's not usual to chew a basket, that's carrot, that's chatzi nezik. Chayve Rabbi Yehuda l'shalom nezik shalom anama, a nezik shalom on the bread, v'asal chatzi nezik. So the Gemara says, but why? An animal is not so particular. You know, you could tell Marshall, I know you're hungry, but don't eat the plate. And Marshall will listen. But an animal, if it's eating, it doesn't stop. It eats the plate. So the Gemara says, since it's normal for it to eat the bread, it's going to end up continuing. You know, it doesn't have, it didn't learn about etiquette. It's going to end up chewing the basket. Says the Gemara, no, the achli finished eating. And then he went back and he ate the basket. Achel b'hader polis. Says Gemara, pas urcheyu? Is it normal for a donkey to eat bread? V'raminu achla pas ubasar v'tavshel. If it eats bread, meat, or a cooked food, mishalem chatzi nezek. So you see that bread is not normal. My love b'behema, isn't that even talking about a cow? This was a cow, which is an animal. It says a donkey, but Rashi says that that's not what we refer to as a beast. Rashi says a donkey. A donkey, it is normal to eat bread. It says Gemara, loy b'chaya. It's talking about a wild beast, a carnivore. A carnivore doesn't eat bread. Says the Gemara, but chaya basar urcheyu. But here it says you're also a chatzi nezek on meat. But if it's a carnivore, it eats meat. The meat was roasted. Oh, a carnivore doesn't eat roasted meat. V'ibay is saying a betavia, a deer. A deer, which eats herbs, it's normal for it to eat bread, but it's not normal for it to eat meat. V'ibay is saying a lo'ilam bebehema. It's an animal. And normally an animal eats bread and it eats meat, but ubipsura. It's talking about with the bread or the meat was on the table. And it's not normal for the animal to go up on the table and eat it, and that's why it's Karen and it's a chatzi nezek. One more piece, let's just do one more piece. It's an interesting case. Hahu Barucha, this happened, believe it or not, it happened in Ruvain Pollack's house. I think Ruvain is the only person that doesn't have, you don't even have texting, Ruvain, right?
I can do it a little bit.
But not necessarily you would see it.
No, I don't go looking for it.
Right, that's what you see. Yeah, right. So,
But he's going on the app. He's going on the chat.
oh, really?
Yeah, sure, you can put him on.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay. We're moving into the 20th century. Okay.
He's got the donkey, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, for sure. Now, how Barucha, there was a goat. The Chazal lifta apuma dedana. There was a goat that saw a turnip. Now, goats love turnips. And Reuven puts turnip in his chicken soup. So, there was a goat that saw a turnip, apuma dedana, on top of a barrel. Sarich, so it clawed, and Sulik, it clawed and climbed onto the barrel. Achla lelifta, ate the turnip, v'tavrei ledana, and broke the barrel. Says the Gemara, chayvei Rava alifta v'adana nezek shalom. So Rava was mechayev him a nezek shalom on both the turnip and the barrel. Why? My timer. Since it was normal for him to eat the turnip, it's normal for him to climb up to the barrel to get it. And therefore the barrel smashed was also regel, normal behavior. And he has to pay Ruvain on Nezek Shalom. Ruvain was wondering what he would do with that barrel. Now he gets full money for the barrel and for the turnip. Again, I did the Mishnah Yomi already because also it's late, so I took care of it already. It's on YouTube and Torah Anytime. And I want to thank you all. Share back to 8 o'clock, Mariv, at 7:45 tomorrow night.